Something else I noticed while driving it, I can now go all the way lock to lock. I'm not rubbing. You know, it's kind of embarrassing when you turn your wheel and you got all that rubbing noise in the parking lot. I'm cranked to the side here, and this thing turns on a dime now. With the wrong backspacing wheel, I'm back lock to lock now. I can really get this thing to turn way more than I was with just the Mopar wheels. Something I want to cover down on real quick is that the wheel spacers, there are a couple of different brands that you can buy. There's also like cheaper versions of these, and you really got to watch what you're buying. You need to make sure it has good hardware, grade 8 or better, and that the machining is, you know, well done. And the other part is that when you're buying these, they have sometimes they're not anodized, so the metal, the steel on the aluminum or whatever this material is, will start to corrode on the back side. And I would recommend, if you're going to buy the spacers, get them with the anodized coating, because they'll last longer, they'll look better, and they'll wear better. But wheel spacers have been around a long time. A lot of people don't like them because they think there's been a problem with them, but I think many people misconstrue those little thin ones that you put between your wheel hub. There's thin ones you can just slide in here and then put your wheel on. There's nothing holding them in. They're just sitting here sloppy. They're not hub centric or anything. Those are the wheel spacers that many people talk about that are problematic, and that's why they won't recommend wheel spacers. But if you have these kind that bolt off, they actually bolt through the original hub, and then they use their own threads. And these threads are made for a JL and a JT pickup. So you have to make sure you're getting the right style and a good brand. These are from Quadratec, so they're a trusted brand. These are made by RT Off-Road, and you know, as long as you're getting a name brand, I think they're fine. Spider-Trax, I think, is the de facto that I've used since the dawn of Jeeps, but these will work also. Before you put on, not the lug nuts, but these are the nuts that go between the hub and the spacer, and put a little dab of red Loctite on them. Alright, so in order to torque these to 110 foot-pounds, which I'm using a torque wrench here with a 3/4 inch socket, in order to get this to stop moving, you either have to have somebody stand on the brake, or if you have ARB air lockers, which I have the pressurized line here, I just went ahead and kicked on my ARB air locker. There's the two hoses up there. And I came down here and just turned that on. So it moves just a little bit, but the locker's locked in, and because of the drive shaft and the other wheel on the ground, this shaft is now one piece. So I'm gonna go ahead and torque these with my ARB air locker on. doing this, before you set the tire down and retorque it, I have it on the middle setting, so it's about it's up this 1,200 foot-pounds, but this kind of brings it down to a more less beating on your lug nuts and more, so you can set them up for torquing them later. Just one thing I want to hit on right here is that these will want to spin on you even if they're in four-wheel drive, and I have my lockers, turn the lockers on just like I did in the front axle. But what I'm doing on here is probably just going to pull the e-brake, and that will lock these in place. We'll put the hub-centric ring on there with the spacer, Loctite, nuts, and then the wheel back on. Just that simple. All right, well that's it. That's the end of that. About an hour's worth of time, and get a little bit more poke in the wheel here. These were 5-inch backspacing wheels, and then with the 1.25 inch, 1.5 spacer, I've got about 4 or 3 3/4. I think is what I ended up with. 3 3/4 or 4 inches of backspacing now. Just a little bit of poke out. It was flush with the Rubicon fenders, but now I don't have to worry about any of that. I like that they stick out a little more. I think it makes the 37s look a little bit more aggressive, and has a better overall appearance. That it is lifted, and it has a lot of modifications done to it. Before, it just seemed like it did have a really nice OEM feel to it, but it just was rubbing. And down here, with just as tight as everything is in here, I was getting rubbing on the frame. So with the 37s, or going anything bigger, you're just going to need to have about a 4-inch backspacing to get everything to to fit back here. Something else I noticed while driving it, I can now go all the way lock to lock. I'm not rubbing. You know, it's kind of embarrassing when you turn your wheel and you got all that rubbing noise in the parking lot. I'm cranked to the side here, and this thing turns on a dime now. With the wrong back-spacing wheel, I'm back lock to lock now. I can really get this thing to turn way more than I was with just the Mopar wheels. I just stopped to get a Taiwan tea on my way home. I just wanted to point out that the truck drives and feels awesome with this wider stance, and the turning radius is really back to where it should have been before I put the 37s on there, so you're not giving up anything at that point. But that'll do it for this video. Click like and subscribe, and let me know what you guys want to see in another video. I don't get a whole lot of feedback on like what else you guys want to see, but I'm just kind of doing this on my own dime, and then using some of the revenue that I get from Facebook and YouTube to just help with the truck a little bit. But it's not a big money making deal, but I thank you guys for your subscriptions and for your likes and replies. So please stay in touch, stay in tune, and watch out for the next video. Thanks, guys.